Hello, Rink Rats. I'm here with legendary playmaker Craig Janney at the Maloney Hockey Museum. The curator, they're closed for business today, but the curator was kind enough to let us use the premises. And I'd like to start out because I know you're awful proud of this. I saw your speech. USA Hockey Hall of Fame inductee, Craig Janney. I'm just going to go over the stats and everything first, and then we'll have a chat. 1988 Olympic team member, All-American, All-New England, All-Hockey East, All-Tourney at BC. His points per game average was unbelievable. Top 20 of 21. NHL points per game average just under 1 point per game. Joey Mullen is exactly 1 point per game, NHL. And you're .998, ranked 61st in NHL history. But he's one of these quiet guys with the sneaky stats that nobody really notices or realizes. One stat that I saw, BC 1.54 points per game, ranked 21st in the Hall of Fame. 1987 crazy year, 83 points with 55 assists. Artie had 35 goals, led the team. But as far as a playmaker, .741 assists per game in the NHL. I don't know if you know this. You might not.
Not at all.
14th in NHL history in assists per game in history. And I'm going to hopefully embarrass you here because I'm going to rattle off the names of the 13 guys ahead of you. And then I want somebody to call Toronto. Okay? Number 1, assist points per game, Wayne Gretzky. Pretty good player.
Yeah, not bad.
Number 2, Mario Lemieux.
My favorite.
This is assists per game. Number 3, Bobby Orr.
Wow.
Not a bad player. 14, Peter Forsberg. 5, current player Sidney Crosby. 6, Peter Stastny. 7, Adam Oates. 8, Paul Coffey, who Bobby Orr's father said was a better skater than Bobby was. Okay? Number 9, Marcel Dion. Number 10, Kent Nilsson. 11, Bernie Fedorko, who's a great player. 12, Dale Hawerchuk. 13, Bobby Clark. 14, this guy. All right? Now the guys after you, Bossy, Ray Bork, Ron Francis, Trottier, Guy Lafleur, Yzerman, Esposito, Yager, Nikita, Al McGinnis, Leachy, Linsman, Jean Bellevue, Brad Park, Jean Rattel, Gordie Howe, etc., etc. You're ahead of all those guys. So.
God, I didn't know that, Berkey. That's a great one.
What does that tell you?
That was a
What
great
does
one.
it tell everybody else?
It's that I play with a lot of great goal scorers.
Okay. All right. One of the greatest playmakers, I'm going to say, in the history of the game. Now, I'm a per game guy. I look at per game stats. I think it's the best way to measure consistency and, kind of the men versus the boys type of thing. And it carries, from the leather era to the current styrofoam era, it's still an accurate measurement of somebody. NHL shooting percentage, 17.79 shots on goal went in, 38th overall in NHL history.
That's because I didn't shoot much.
All right, or you had a broken...
Right, Duke, I didn't shoot much.
Or do you have a broken stick like Danny Shea and missed the net a few times?
He's over celebrating in the corner by himself anyways.
So what was it like going from BC, and you were there for a couple of years, you and Leachy were a couple of the early guys that, were called to the NHL early, back then when, they started taking guys earlier. But what was it like going from BC, and you guys had an all-star team, and your Olympic team in '88 was lights out all-star. But what was it like going from BC, and now you're center iceman for Cam Neely, and you're playing with Bork?
it was exciting, but like you said, Berkey, that lineup we had at BC that year was an NHL lineup. The first six guys.
Was in the NHL.
The first power play unit was Greg Brown, Brian Leach, Kevin Stevens, Ken Hodge, and myself. Tim Sweeney, who got 30 goals that year, or 28 or 30 that year, was on the second power play unit, and he played 10 years in the league. So we had a pretty stacked team.
That's unbelievable. How many of those guys were on? I think was there 4 guys on the Olympic team in '88?
Brownie, Leachy, myself, and Kevin
And
Artie were on the Olympic team that year.
Yeah. Who is as a center iceman, and you won, you know, I'm going to say just as many face-offs as Derek Sanderson, who was the master. But who would you say was the toughest guy on a puck drop on a face-off?
Well, I think the toughest guy on a puck drop was my teammate Kenny Lensman, and he's the one who taught me. He was my mentor when I got to the NHL, and to his credit, a lot of people give Rad a bad deal because he played like such a pain in the butt.
But he was so good.
But he was effective. But I took his job sort of. He was playing with Cam Neely up to that point, and when I came in, they put me with Cam, and it just clicked and worked out, obviously. And he could have been upset with me. He could have been mean. He could have been standoffish. He taught me everything he knew.
Is that right?
And he would work on face-offs with me after practice every day, and was a really good mentor to me. He tried to teach me how to play defensively. That never took, but
Yeah.
he was
Although you
a
played
mentor.
aggressive, and I think you were more physically aggressive, which, you know, probably out of necessity when you go pro than you were in college.
Oh, absolutely. Pro, you have to be a little more physical. It's a physical game.
Yeah.
There's a little more intimidation trying to get you, trying to bait you. And he taught me that too, how to stay away, stay away from clinches. Just truly a wonderful mentor and friend.
What is the trick on a face-off?
Cheating.
Tell me.
Cheat.
Just beat it on the way down?
I would cheat any way I could. Use your feet, use your stick. Watch the way the ref drops the puck. Get used to it over a game.
Would you study refs beforehand to see how they
absolutely.
drop?
I would study them in the first period, linesmen in the first period,
Really?
and see what they were doing and how quick they were dropped. Some guys come in quick and drop it. Some guys come in and set, wait 1 second, 2 seconds. So you'd go in there.
Left hand, right
Yeah,
hand.
you know what they were going to do and what you wanted to do.
Really? Okay. Now, what about goalies? Who was the toughest goalie to get a puck guy?
The toughest one for me.
College and pro.
College, God. College. You know who I had a tough time with, and everyone else didn't, was Peter Fish at BU, and he was a sieve most of the time, but not for me. He owned me.
Sorry, Peter. That's
No,
a tough
Fishy and
one.
I are buddies. Fishy and I are buddies, and he owned me, but everyone else owned him. And pro, by far, was Dominic Hasek. I couldn't get one by him.
Yeah,
He was so awkward, and you didn't know what he was going to do, and he just mentally owned me to the point where I had a hard time. I couldn't get it by him.
He was an acrobat back
Yeah,
then. He
certainly
stood on
was.
his head. My father, who you know,
Yeah.
I asked him who, you know, he played like, and he said Cheevers, but he said more like Hasek. So I said, so Dad, you were always out of position and had to make a miraculous save? He didn't answer the question.
He left the room.
He didn't answer the question. Now, somebody asked me about the short stick.
Well, it felt comfortable for me, and I wasn't a shooter, you know that, so you could really maneuver it any which way. And for me, it kept me on my forehand. A short stick keeps you on your forehand the whole game.
Yeah.
And I believe in that you should play on your forehand. I'm very Russian like that. That I believe everything should be done on your forehand unless you have to, desperado, go to your backhand. A lot of people don't believe that.
Do you know what the toughest shot for a goalie to stop is?
A backhander, because
Absolutely.
no one knows where it's
You don't know
going.
where it's going to go.
But I wasn't shooting. I was looking to pass the whole time.
You like to pass. Well, that reminds me, there's a great story of Gordie Howe. It was Bobby Orr's first game against Gordie Howe, and this reflects the playmaker philosophy, liking to pass. Orr was, you know, his rookie year, he was trying to make his presence known, and kind of messed around with Gordie Howe a little bit, and Gordie gave him an elbow and knocked him on his ass, right? So Orr said, "What'd you do that for?" And Gordie Howe said, "I'm a Christian man, and I feel it's better to give than to receive." And Bobby Orr said, "Okay, I deserve that." But it's the same thing with a playmaker. You know, you better to give than receive, and you give it off and get an assist, and that's a point too.
Well, no, I always was put with goal scorers, and in my generation, I believe I played with probably the top goal scorers of all time. Brendan Shanahan, Brett Hall, Cam Neely, Keith Kachuk, who got 50 twice. I played with some other guys, Ray Shepard, Owen Nolan, who got 40, and they're goal scorers. They want the puck. So I thought if I could give them 4 chances a game in a good spot, we're going to get 1 or 2 goals and we're going to win a hockey game. And that's my job. My saying when it comes to sports, and to be honest, it's my saying everywhere to everyone. Any business, when I go and talk to people, do your job. My job was to pass the puck. The dancers dance, the diggers dig. Do your job and you'll win.
I like that quote.
As long as everyone does their job,
Yeah.
to their best of their ability, that their job is. Don't do someone else's job.
Yeah.
Do your job, and you'll win hockey games, or win any games.
Yeah. Well, that's Bill Belichick's philosophy. Just
Absolutely.
Do your job.
Do your job.
Just do your job. Now, I mentioned at the very beginning, USA Hockey Hall of Fame, you averaged just under a point a game in the NHL, but you averaged exactly a point a game in a USA sweater, whether it was national team or world or Olympics. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
Yeah.
No. So, but we had some good teams. I was fortunate to play with some wonderful talented guys, some of the best American players of all time. And I'm honored that I was able to do that.
Now, I noticed, you played for several teams. 7, maybe? 6 or 7?
6 or 7.
But 3 of the teams, you wore number 15. Is there a reason for that?
That's my number. But like the Bruins, they're all retired, so you can't
That was
get
Uncle Milty, so you
Milty's.
can't get that one.
Couldn't get that. And then you go to some teams. Like I got traded at the deadline twice, and I couldn't wear 15 at the time. So I picked numbers of some of my favorite teammates, and I would wear their numbers. And when I went to Winnipeg at the deadline, I wore 29, which was Jay Miller's number.
Okay.
And I'm going to tell this story. Don't get mad, my daughter and wife. But I was in his bar, the Courtyard, in the summer,
Okay.
and got out of control, and he was mad at me. So I wore his number that year and told him, "I wore your number, Jay. Can I come back?"
Just to give him a
Oh
little...
yeah, give him a little zipper.
I love it.
And then 21 I wore in Tampa Bay because of my very good friend Bob Corkum, a Maine kid, who's probably the best friend I made in hockey. And so I wore his number because it was available.
Joey Mullen's number at BC.
Was it really?
Yeah. Yeah. And 15...
If I could get 15, that would be the number I would
15
wear.
was Timmy Sheehy's number,
Yeah.
and his number for the Whalers, which was your favorite team growing
Yeah,
up.
absolutely.
But yours was probably hard for it. I followed the New England Whalers when they started because Timmy was on the team. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I followed them both because I was there growing up. So
I followed them more than the Bruins.
I sure did.
The
I know
Whalers.
that. I sure did.
That's where I met Gordie Howe and Larry Robinson, the Whalers dressing room one night. Who was your idol growing up as a kid?
Ron Francis, and he outplayed me. He outlasted me in the league, but he was by far my idol. The greatest day of my life one time, where we played in Enfield, we had a summer league there, and the Whalers had a team.
Yeah.
And not that they played every game, all their guys, but they would come, and Brian Leach and I were on a team. We actually beat the Whalers team in the finals. We were stacked young kids on a mission. And when I went outside and Ronnie Francis grabbed my stick, it was by my bag, and he checked out my curve, the flex, and all that, and I was like, Ronnie Francis touched my stick.
It's like,
It was like
you're blessed.
It was like heaven. It was like heaven.
It's a hockey blessing.
It was like heaven.
I remember I was watching a game once, and you know the game. You're playing for the Bruins, and you scored a goal and you got tripped. and you went flat down on the ice. And I can remember watching the game live, probably channel 38 or something. Sanderson's doing the color, Cusick is doing the play-by-play, and you scored the goal, and you get tripped just as you scored going across the net. And Cusick was just about to say, Derek, you know what goal that reminds me of? And before he could even say it, Derek goes, no, that was nothing like Bobby's goal. Don't even compare that, Fred. You know? But very...
Yeah, I actually really got tripped.
Do you know what I mean?
Bobby jumped.
Bobby jumped a little bit, yeah. Now, on a lighter note, what is your favorite line from the movie Slapshot?
Favorite one? God, I just saw it a couple weeks ago. My memory ain't what it used to be, but I don't know. Can't tell you right now.
Nothing you can say on camera, anyway.
I got one in my mind, but I can't say that.
I know the line.
It jumped right in my head.
Yeah, I know the line. Now, is there anything you'd like to expand on? Talk about your college, your amateur, or your pro career? To this day, any funny stories you can tell on camera? With kids viewing?
No, I don't think so. I'm sure there's some, but I can't think of them right now.
Okay.
I think the only thing I realize is, you say you wouldn't want to change anything in your life or your career, but I'm envious of what Brownie did and the courage he took after the Olympics to go back to school.
Right.
And the rest of us all turned pro.
Yeah.
And at the time when Brownie did it, I was upset with him because it's when you get to that competition, you want to challenge yourself at the next level.
Yeah.
But he wanted to go back to school and enjoy his experience. And now, in hindsight, 25 years later, I think Brownie might have done the right thing.
He looks younger now than he did when he was 20.
He's fantastic. I mean, he looks like he's 25 years old.
One of the nicest guys in the world.
There's two nice guys I know, and Brownie's one of them.
Yeah.
The nicest.
Yeah.
Russ Kent's the other one from who was our manager at BC. Those are the two. Whenever we had something where you had to pull out of a hat, like a pool or something, those are the only two we trusted.
Right.
Because the rest of us would cheat.
Well, hence the respect he has for everyone. Now, if you had some advice for young kids, youth players, lessons you've learned from hockey, what advice would you offer?
Play other sports. Don't play hockey year-round. Biggest mistake you can make.
My dad always said that.
Parents should know better. Other sports are just as good for you, just meaningful for you. You get burnt out. You don't want to be burnt out. You want to play other sports and develop other things that will help your hockey. And I see too many kids who play 12 months a year and no practicing even. It's all games. And to me, it's a waste of time.
You get stale.
Stale, and you're not learning anything.
You get stale. All right. Well, it's an honor to be able to chat with you. It's good to see you again. I don't think I've seen you in 25 years.
I know, I think so, Brick.
Maybe we can catch a couple of games this year if you're in town.
I will. I always float into town because of my daughter. Yeah. I'm sorry I'm in a hat, but I was at BC getting her into her dorm all morning.
So we'll say goodbye from the Maloney Hockey Museum with Craig Janney, ranked, I'm going to repeat this, 14th in NHL history in assists per game. Somebody get on the phone and call Toronto, please. Okay? Because it's been overlooked.
Thanks, Berkey.
Good luck, pal.
Thanks, man.
Okay?
3-2 Boston.